Good Thursday morning, foggers. I hope everybody had a good Wednesday. A bit challenging, engaging, right? Not too difficult. We never want easy here. Easy is temporary and fake, and we want to build on good foundations and healthy foundations moving forward, right? Getting better. That's what we're about. So I woke up like most of you did, watching the news and all this shit that's going on in our country. And, today is a national day of prayer. And, what God put on my heart was talking about accountability, right? So in the world of first responders, when we're talking about, addictions, right? Alcohol and pills and drugs and suicide prevention and just being well up in the mind, right? Accountability. I always tell my son, and I constantly try to pour wisdom into his brain, right? Life is like a huge Walmart or Home Depot, right? You run through the aisles wreaking havoc and you do all kinds of shit and you have a blast and you just do whatever. You shoot super soakers and eat the Twinkies off the shelf and do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, right, and some people have a longer day, at the end of the day, there's only one register and the line is super narrow and there's somebody waiting for you and that's where you pay your bill. And we all have that day, right? Like they say, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. So I always tell him, whatever you do in life and you're going to have your own journey, regardless of all the wisdom and stuff that I'm trying to pump into him, remember that you're going to be accountable for everything that you do, say, and think, okay? Just to keep things in order, right? And, the phrase God-fearing man, there's a Bible verse, and I'm going to chop it all up here because I'm just going to say it, but, that wisdom starts with fearing God, right? And again, I lived my life before like everybody else does. I didn't really not believe or whatever, but I just lived my life, right? In the flesh as a man with all the frailties and weakness, and I still have them, okay? So during my addictions, right, one of the key components was accountability. I knew that if I wrecked my car, if I got violent, if I got sick, if I messed up my liver, if I messed up other parts of my body because of my reckless behavior with alcohol and drugs, that I was going to be accountable and I was going to be held completely accountable, and I couldn't blame anybody. I couldn't go back and blame the dysfunction of my mom and my father and my siblings and the home that we lived in. I can't blame anybody but me, right? There's no indoctrination in life. There's ways that you're raised and things that you're thought to, you're led to believe, I should say. And at the end of the day, it's up to you. Remember the analogy that I use. You're driving a car and there's 3,000 kilos of cocaine in the trunk and you had no idea. Guess what? You fucking eat it. It's yours because you're responsible for that car. So life is no different, And what I learned going through the processes of the addiction and just being dysfunctional was, I would drink to run from my problems. And guess what? When you wake up from being blacked out and that drunken stupor that you're in, your problems are still there. And now you've got another problem because you were drunk last night. So every day I woke up with that shame and knowing that I was accountable and that I was failing, right? And if you listen to some of the best athletes in the world, they'll tell you that failing is where they created and had their success, their biggest success. I always talk about my son and football practice, and they train every day. Practice makes perfect. That's a crock of shit. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. You strive to be the best that you can be. And when you have a bunch of people around you that do the same thing, it usually creates victory. But the reason why you have practice, right, in everything in life, whether it's sports, first responders, your life at home with your family, right, communication and stuff, the reason you practice is when that monkey wrench gets thrown into you, have a better set of tools in which to respond. You're not, oh shit, what do I do now? So Accountability in life, it's difficult. You know, when you're in that hole, when you have shame in your heart, when you're not living the way you're supposed to, or you find yourself in a dark place, looking in the mirror is extremely difficult. It's difficult when you don't love yourself, right? And being a National Day of Prayer, there were many, many days, and I still struggle with not loving myself. And God always loved me, even on the days that I didn't love myself, okay? And I know that there's a lot of us out there that feel the same way for whatever reason. So maybe it's something you're doing that you know is not right, or you find yourself lost. It's okay. It's okay. It's completely all right. You're not the weirdo, and you're not the only one, okay? We've all been there, and sometimes we go back there. We revisit our own shit. It's okay, right? So, you know, being accountable for your actions and being able to look in the mirror and saying, look, instead of saying, I don't like what I see, look, I could do better, right? That's the way we want to see the reflection. I could be better here in what I see and how I feel about myself. And I always go back to that little selfishness, and it's okay. A little selfishness is okay. You have to be better for yourself and take care of yourself. If not, you're not going to be better for anybody else. So, you know, today's thing is accountability, and the fact that we have to be accountable no matter what we're doing in our life or where we find ourselves. So on a National Day of Prayer, my job here at 3M Fog, my responsibility, right, that I feel is to always be honest with you guys and to tell you, you know, truthfully, because you will always get truth from me. I'm not telling you I'll never fail you, but I will always be honest with you, good, bad, or indifferent. So my job here is to tell you where I was at, how I got there, how to prevent you from getting there, and if you're there, that there's a way out. That's my responsibility to you, and I take it extremely serious, right? So one of my major components on being well, like I told you, that October 9th, right, many years ago now, was when I surrendered. And so faith and God in my life is extremely important. And I invite you, however you see God, I'm not going to indoctrinate anybody because I don't believe in that. But however you see God in your life, right, the greater power in all of our lives is to today just stop for a second, have some time to yourself and pray. And a lot of people have an issue with praying for themselves. Guess what? It's okay, man. I pray for myself all the time that I don't fuck things up again. Okay? So pray for yourself, pray for one another, okay? We're all gonna be held accountable, okay? So look in the mirror, and if you don't like what you see, it's okay. And you can change things, but you gotta love yourself. It starts with that. If you don't love yourself, it's gonna be a difficult ride. And getting out of that hole is gonna be a lot more difficult. We should be contacting and communicating each other. Even if it's, hey, what's going on? How's it going? Want to go to lunch? Want to get coffee? How are you? Simple. Yesterday, I got a phone call from an old friend of mine, and I've been looking after him because I always worry about him because of the amount of trauma that he sees and where he's been, right? And he reciprocated. He called me yesterday. Hey, man, you always call me, so I'm calling you. You know, so the word is getting out, right? We're starting to be accountable for much more than the stuff we do on the road. We got to be accountable for our actions, right? And what we do at home with our families and what we're doing alone, because that alone time is a difficult time. So on a National Day of Prayer, I tell you that was key in my healing, and it's key in trying to stay as straight as I can, right? And so I invite you to say a prayer today for yourself and for all the 3AM followers and all the people that are in the law enforcement and first responder profession, our firefighters that we love, and our fire rescue, our EMTs and our nurses and our teachers that are responsible for our children while we're away. That's a huge, huge responsibility. So today, National Day of Prayer, and I would venture to say a National Day of Accountability, okay? Be accountable for what you're doing and who you're doing it to, and pray, all right? With that, if God allows me to, I'll be here tomorrow. And to all my new followers, thank you, all right? It's amazing the amount of followers we have, and spread the word, and we're just trying to get better here, right? I love you, I respect you. Hydrate, meal prep, push some weight, walk, move, run, move that body. Get that body used to healthy activities, okay? God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow, 3 a.m. fog.